Okay, I think the numbers are still climbing, but we'll start because I know everybody's busy and probably wants to get back to having dinner. Welcome to Northern Ireland CIWEM branch and joint technical talk this evening with Engineers Ireland. I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Northern Ireland Water's Capital Investment Plan for PC28 and the West Project Case Study for Sustainable Nature-Based Solution webinar. So thank you all for coming along this evening, and a big thank to our presenters and our panelists today. You want the next slide for me? So a bit of housekeeping. We will do the questions at session at the end of the presentation. If you have any issues, please let us know via the chat function. And this is a CPD worth of an hour, but we don't actually provide certificates in CIWEM, so apologies for that. So a wee bit about CIWEM. CIWEM is a Royal Chartered Engineers or Chartered Professional Body, and we are very active in the Northern Ireland branch. I would encourage everybody to come along to a lot of our events. We've got loads of things on this year. And there's always lots of events that you don't even have to be a member. So please check it out on our website. I'll hand over to John.
Evening, everybody. I'm John Jordan, Chair of Northern Region of Engineers Ireland. Engineers Ireland is the voice of the engineering profession in Ireland. We have about 30,000 members. We make up a community of creative professionals delivering sustainable solutions for society. We're one of the oldest and largest professional bodies in Ireland, and while we have multi-disciplines across all branches of electrical, or from agriculture, biomedical, civil, structural, chemical, electrical, the one thing we don't really have is water and engineering, environmental management. So we're very grateful to have this joint event tonight. So I'm back over to you, Michelle.
Next slide, please. So just a wee bit more about CIWEM. We are worldwide, a bit like Engineers Ireland. We're a very big organisation with our own wee community here in Northern Ireland. If you want to get involved, there's an opportunity for chartership. We do lots of events. We link in with other bodies like this one this evening, and it's great to be a part of a collaborative culture of professionals. Next slide, please. So I'll hand over to Barry now. Barry is the Head of Asset Management in Northern Ireland Water, and he's here to tell us a little bit about their plan for PC28. Over to you, Barry.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Michelle. Thank you, CIWEM and Engineers Ireland, for inviting me here. I'm going to talk you through the emerging picture of NI Water's £2.9 billion capital investment plan for PC28. And it is an emerging picture. We have to submit our outline capital submission April next year, and the full business plan in November next year. But these figures I'm about to show you have been shared with our exec committee, our board, and in fact, lots of the topics were discussed at Stormont yesterday at the Infrastructures Committee. So 2.9 billion. Start with the ask. It's a regulatory period between April 28 and April 33, a 5-year period, and we'll be putting in a business plan that broadly asks for an investment from 460 million in year 1 up to 660 million in year 5. But before I get into how we can actually calculate that requirement for the country and the public infrastructure, I just want to give you some background about what a price control is and how we go about doing a business plan. So a price control and investment plan is a contract between the water company and essentially the public to fulfill a load of duties for the money that is brought in from non-domestic revenues and domestic revenues. As a monopoly, NI Water is regulated by the utility regulator through these price controls, and the utility regulator determines whether the contract that we're putting forward is value for money. It sets our targets, it ensures that we're efficient, and it tracks us throughout the life of the regulatory investment plan. PC28 will be the 5th regulated price control for NI Water, And it's a very extensive set of documents and reports that sets out exactly what we will do during that period, and everybody can have access to this one from the utility regulator's website once it's submitted. So we have to follow what are called the utility regulator's regulatory principles for PC28. It comes in their approach document, and it says essentially NI Water should prepare a business plan which sets out what is essential for the company to meet its statutory obligations. It should be an efficient and deliverable plan which meets established needs and is affordable from a tariff perspective. So I just need to explain a little bit about what these terms mean. Statutory obligations are things that we need to do from legislation as a statutory undertaker of water and sewage services. So, for example, we have a statutory obligation to prevent internal flooding in people's houses. Now, the difference between that and an established need is the established need is the engineering, the science, the modelling that goes into actually quantifying the size and urgency of that statutory obligation. So if a house floods internally more frequently than once in 5 years, that becomes an established need. And we have to propose a solution that stops that happening to a 1 in 30-year return period. So we know, for example, that there are 45 internal flooding issues that we need to rectify in PC28 to meet that one statutory obligation. Then there's water statutory obligations like leakage. We have to control our leakage from our potable water system. The established need is that we need to maintain the sustainable economic level of leakage across our water systems. And so we need to make sure we bid for enough money to keep the established need fulfilled. Not only that, we have to do that in an efficient way, which is determined by the regulator's reporter and audits our business cases. And it has to be deliverable within the time period, and it has to be affordable from a tariff perspective. That means if you take the non-domestic fees and the pseudo tariff we get from the government for domestic fees, we should be able to fulfill this capital programme within our own budgetary envelope. So where do the legislative drivers and priorities come from? Well, they come from a DFI document called the Long-Term Water Strategy, which sets out the goals and commitments for a water company over a long period, and the social environmental guidance, which looks at the window for the next price control. It also comes from our business internally as a company. We have a number of strategic priorities associated with customer, water, environment, nature, and people that we also want to fulfill. The document itself is very extensive. It has 9 or so chapters that cover not only the projects, but also how we deliver them, the outcomes for customers, balancing supply and demand, etc. And is a good read if you ever want to look at it and find out more about the background of the projects in the water industry. There's some very extensive technical appendices, business plan tables, and financial model that goes with it. But 2.9 billion is too big to just quantify in one go. We need to chunk it down into themes and priorities. And so I'm going to talk you through some of the key themes and priorities for PC28. The first priority is our sludge disposal facility. That picture in the middle there is the Belfast incinerators down in Duncrew. They are a PPP incinerator, it's incinerators, and they're reaching the end of their life. In fact, inside the next regulatory period, they reach their end of life, and we need to replace them. They're quite polluting. They use about 10% of our entire operational energy. And so there's new technologies that are available which actually turn the byproduct of all of our waste from the entire country into a usable product called biochar. There is also processes which are energy neutral, so we can run them from within the energy of the material that's being fed into the thing. So some really cool technologies. Our proposal is to take one of the sludge facilities that is at end of life and replace it with a pyrolysis plant, which will be based in Ballinacor, which is Portadown, to take advantage of the new technology in PC28. Then we have critical maintenance. We have an absolutely vast array of assets, sites, facilities across the country. There are hundreds of water sites. These range from our beautiful impounding reservoirs like Silent Valley, water treatment works across the country, service reservoirs, clear water tanks, pumping stations that keep all of our network at high pressure to your taps, and of course, thousands of meters, thousands of kilometers of water mains, trunk mains, distribution mains, enough in fact to go 3/4 of the way around the world. Secondly, we have an even bigger public wastewater system. We have over 1,000 treatment works. We have nearly 2,000 overflows, 1,400 pumping stations, and again, sewers, something in the order of 17,000 kilometers of sewers that we have to maintain and operate and keep in good working order. And then we have a lot of depots and admin buildings and land, telemetry masts, etc. We have a fleet of vehicles we have to maintain, a laboratory, we have IT systems and health and safety systems that all fall within our management and general area. But as you can see, whether it's a soft asset, a hard asset, a linear asset, there is an absolutely vast amount of infrastructure that we have to keep going all the time to protect it. And so it serves the public. In fact, our priority one is to keep our current assets healthy. If our assets are not maintained, they fail, they stop working and can lead to severe consequences such as water shortages, water quality incidents, severe watercourse pollution, property flooding, health and safety incidents, and even cyber breakdowns and shutdowns. We have consultants across the water industry helping us with our asset health right now. We have more data than ever before to show the life of the asset and assets which are actually expired and even sub-assets that have expired. In order to determine the established needs in our maintenance assets, we are doing a bottom-up asset health approach for the first time through a range of modelling techniques. Plus, we're getting some independent assurance and economic benchmarking. We anticipate that 1.2 billion of base maintenance will be required in PC28. We have 6 further enhancement themes across all of our assets. The first is cleaner, safer drinking water. Our water treatment plants need to be upgraded to meet stricter water quality standards that are being forced by the Drinking Water Inspectorate. These upgrades remove harmful pesticides and weed killers from our raw water and treat things such as THMs, which are byproducts from the chlorination and disinfection of water that we have to take out of the system. We then have water on demand. Our summers are getting hotter and longer, making the public system more resilient so we can meet peak demands in hotter, and we have hotter months and for longer, drier periods. This means boosting the network pipe and pumping capacity and increasing the volume of drinking water that we store so that we can manage peaks and demands, so we're not impacted by hose pipe bans, etc. in the future. Then we have a very unique theme that is arising, which is Loch Ney taste and odour. The blue-green algae that is manifesting in Loch Ney eventually reaches our treatment works. Now, our treatment works are good at stripping out anything that is dangerous associated with raw water. It's very safe to drink. However, at peak times during the blue-green algae season, it can leave an unpleasant taste and smell for some of our customers at the tap, which, although is not harmful, is very annoying and unpleasant. And so again, the Drinking Water Directorate Inspectorate has asked us to address these issues. Our biggest need in terms of cost is enabling development and reducing pollution. We have hundreds of towns now where the sewer system and treatment system is completely full. And we need to upgrade our facilities, not only our networks, but our treatment works as well. We have about 900 to 1,000 unsatisfactory overflows that need to be addressed in order to tackle the pollution problems that are arising from these old assets. Only by dealing with the pollution risk can we enable the development, hence linking these two drivers together to make them not only economic, but also environmentally friendly. At the same time, the Environment Agency is implementing a regulatory reform, setting the bar for our wastewater systems higher than ever, looking at the ventilation monitors at our overflows, unannounced sampling, catchment improvements, etc., etc. And finally, we also as a business have to transform and innovate at the same time, driving efficiency of everything else to make the most of every pound that we are gratefully awarded. Some of the big projects that are likely to manifest is Moyola Water Treatment Works. That is in the northwest of Loch Ney. We require an extra 5 megalitres a day, and there's a taste and odour risk from the blue-green algae. Killyhevlin Water Treatment Works also is an interesting one. The process uses a thing called magnetite to filtrate the raw water, and that material is no longer available in a few years' time. So we have to recreate a new front end of this process to replace the magnetite stages of this water treatment works. Castor Bay, one of our biggest water treatment works, also needs more water for the hot summers. At the same time, some of the internal systems, the primary filters, are undersized and not up to full UK best practice. And it is also susceptible to the blue-green algae. So we have a lot of water treatment works. I haven't touched the trunk mains and distributions in this presentation, but there's also trunk mains and service reservoir projects as well to go along with the water needs. On the wastewater side, where probably the money is most likely to be constrained, we're following a new wastewater optimization process called EOIB, a catchy name, but it stands for Eliminate, Operate, Invigorate and Base. What we do is we take the need as seen by the regulatory drivers, and we try and eliminate it at source by talking to traders, looking for ingress, challenging the water order consent with state-of-the-art environmental models and simulators, and even changing customer behaviour to stop blockages, etc. Once we've done that, we look into operating in different ways and invigorating the system using instrumentation, automation, efficient new cleaning systems, chemicals, energy optimization to squeeze as much as we can out of the assets that are there already. And then we do complementary base at the same time to replace M&E that is reaching end of its life. Only when that is done do we then look at enhancing the treatment works further. So when you look at our statutory obligations and use engineering, science, modelling techniques to evidence the established needs, we find that there's 7.9 billion of established needs in today's money that we can actually point at and say that is not compliant. You'll see that 2/3 of the entire needs fall into wastewater enhancement. The pink bar, by far and away the biggest cohort of underinvestment that has happened within our infrastructure that we need to tackle over a multi-price control period. Our PC28 plan sets out to deliver approximately 1/3 of these established needs. You can see that the M&G portfolio is 0.3 of 0.4 billion and the water portfolio is 0.9 of 1.3 billion. But the wastewater needs will take 3 or 4 cycles at this level of investment to fully resolve. When we come back to our graph and look at the top established needs based on the UR's regulatory principles, we can see the sludge disposal facility is good. 1 out of 2 sludge incinerators will be replaced. Capital and maintenance is good. It'll be 50 to 60% of all visible capital maintenance can be undertaken. Similarly, our essential maintenance for our fleet IT systems can be addressed. Water enhancement is about 60 to 70% of all the envisaged needs on our water systems. And then the wastewater enhancement, we make good progress into tackling approximately £1 billion worth of the 5 billion that has been identified. So how do we actually turn this into a plan which can be delivered over 5 years? Well, the first thing we have to do is look at the glide path into PC28 itself. This year, we have £360 million of capital investment that has been secured already. And there are still some options for further investment for the remainder of the financial year. If this sort of level of investment was to continue for the next 2 periods of PC21, the pink being an extra year 7, we will see that we could glide into PC28 with a run rate of about 400 million per year. At that point, deliverability really becomes the constraint for stepping up further investment to 2.9 billion. So let me just go back. And that incremental increase will go up to approximately 660 million by year 5. And that is comparable to all other water companies of a similar size. If you compare us per head to other water companies, they are in that sort of £700 million zone. So that is a sustainable level going forward from a regulated water company perspective at the moment. So priority 1 is our sludge facility. We cannot let that facility die. It is a singularly unique facility on the island of Ireland and is required to get rid of all of our sludges. We have to have a sludge facility. If it's at end of life, we could replace it. We could put massive capex into refurbishing it, but you're still talking about tens of millions of pounds of investment to replace one of the incinerators. The second priority is capital maintenance. We estimate we need about 200 to 240 million pounds of capital maintenance every year in PC28. Then our essential M&G maintenance gets added to that, as I've described before. Our water enhancement projects associated with water quality and sufficient water and the blue-green algae taste and odour issues. And then the remaining investment is as much of the wastewater enhancement as we can do as possible within the deliverable envelope. And finally, an allowance for efficiency. That means that we can squeeze more out of the budget that we have for all of the elements beneath. So I just want to highlight some consequences of funding shortfalls. We've shown you how the build works, but if I show you the current funding level that we have, if that is to maintain, we will be unable to facilitate much of the wastewater programme and indeed the water enhancement programme. So we're really hoping that more investment will be available for the next price control. If we look at what's called the reasonable worst case funding scenario that we've been provided for this analysis, it only really undertakes about 1% of the established needs for the wastewater enhancement, the economy and pollution issues. Because we have to protect capital maintenance, the consequences of not undertaking capital maintenance, not undertaking the sludge facility and the essential M&G are more severe than not undertaking the wastewater enhancement programme. So these are the themes that we've talked about today. Broadly, the regulatory priority goes from left to right. The sludge facility, then critical maintenance of our water, wastewater and M&G systems. What you can see is that we need approximately £270 million annually just to maintain our vast infrastructure network. Beyond that, enhancement and protection of public health, homes, stronger economy, better environment associated with cleaner, safer drinking water, water on demand, taste and odour from Loch Ness, regulatory reform, our enormous enabling development and reducing pollution driver, and of course our efficiency drivers are all beyond our ring-fence need to maintain the status quo of our current assets. So when we put the 3-2-1 planning scenario, this barely scratches the surface of what needs to be done. Even our current funding envelope just enables the water elements of our enhancement to be done. The full request for the regulatory principles set out by the utility regulator would mean we can make a really big dent into the needs associated with regulatory reform in the future to bring parity for Northern Ireland regulation into the same as England and Wales, enabling vast amounts of development across the country and also reducing pollution in this dual purpose driver. And we will be able to do it more efficiently and more evidence than ever before. So in summary, we have a 2.9 billion, 10-point regulated plan promising to deliver what's needed, which is better health, more housing, stronger economy, cleaner environment. This means we'll be transforming and innovating to achieve more, faster, greener, less pollution and more wastewater capacity to connect new properties. More protection against threats to the public drinking supplies by ensuring it's clean, safe, great tasting and always available, and carrying out critical maintenance and replace of publicly owned infrastructure so we continue to safely and effectively provide essential water and wastewater services. So that's me. Thank you for listening. I think I'm handing back to Ryan now. Michelle.
Thank you very much, Barry. That's very, very insightful. I think you have a thorough job on your hands ahead of you. So it'll be interesting to see some questions or ours to be in the chat. We'll have them at the end as discussed earlier. But really thank you for that presentation. So Ryan, we'll hand over to you now.
Okay, share the screen. Can everyone see that okay?
Yep, that's through thing.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Barry, for your insight into PC28, our informative presentation on the outlook for NI Water in the next PC period and future investment. So following on from his presentation, I will be talking today about the WEST project. Pardon me, just this up here. The WEST project, which stands for Water Enhancement through Sustainable Treatment, and how NI Water has secured external funding to further improve their asset investment portfolio. So in today's agenda will consist of SUPP on the Peace Plus funding, the WEST project background, site selection identification process, the innovation research on sustainable treatment solutions, and I'll complete my presentation by talking about the two NI Water sites where these treatment processes are being implemented at Balik and Garrison. So the WEST project is funded through the 1.1 billion Peace Plus programme, and it's being aimed at building peace and prosperity in priority areas bordering between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. It's managed by the SUPP, the Special European Union's programmes body, and the programme is there to tackle the needs in these areas and grasp the opportunities to boost economic growth and social regeneration within these border jurisdictions. As you can see on the slide, under the programme, WEST falls under Theme 5, which is supporting a sustainable and better connected future, but more specifically, Investment Area 5.4, which is the Water Quality Improvement Programme. The project itself is funded by EU and UK government with match funding from DFI and DHLGH, Department of Housing and Local Government and Heritage. So building on the knowledge and experience gained through the SWELL project partnership, the previous project under their Interreg program, NI Water and Uiscin Erne have once again joined forces to share expertise through the WEST project. The 32 million WEST project is a collaborative initiative between the water companies and is designed to enhance water quality, improve access to water, and promote sustainable water management across the eligible cross-border region of Lough Erne, Lough Melvin, and Donegal Bay. So the project focuses on two key output indicators: the development of two strategies or action plans, namely the modelling strategy and the sustainable treatment strategy. Now, the modelling strategy aims to provide both water companies with a clearer understanding of pollution source apportionment, enabling a more targeted future investment across their assets through environmental catchment modelling exercise. Now, the sustainable treatment strategy, this involves reviewing the sustainable treatment technologies to promote their use across the eligible catchment and inform future investment planning for both water companies. And as part of this strategy, there will be 4 demonstration sites that will be evaluated. Now, through the completion of the 4 demonstration sites, we will be delivering the second output indicator, which is the enhanced treatment capacity to cater for 5,000 people and an additional capacity for a future 1,000 people to be connected. So in terms of site selection, significant work pre-application was carried out by both water companies to identify the assets within the priority catchments that were failing to meet effluent quality compliance or operational performance requirements. In total, over 150 wastewater treatment assets were assessed across the priority catchments on both sides of the border. The multi-criterion analysis to rationalise the 80 NI water sites involved looking at their inclusion in the existing PC21 funding plan, operational issues, capacity issues, compliance against discharge consents, WFD status, for example, as you can see in the map there, if they're discharging into rivers of less than good status or their failing parameters were attributed to wastewater treatment works. Following an initial screening of the 80 sites down to 8, we began to investigate the feasibility of sustainable treatment solutions, such as is there sufficient land available for these solutions? We then discussed with CNOD, the Customer and Operational Directorate and NI Water, external stakeholders such as NIA to assess if they were on their priority lists, and subsequently narrowed it down to 4 candidate sites: Balik, Garrison, 5 Mile Town and Erne. Following business case development for these sites and funding limitations on the West budget, only Balik and Garrison were able to be taken forward within the application. So in our evolving world, there's a need for sustainable treatment solutions where conventional treatment plants tend to be highly energy intensive. More stringent discharge consents under the Water Framework Directive will result in higher carbon emissions by water companies. Widespread adoption of low energy, nature-based solutions is fundamental to achieving sector-wide net zero targets, and they also have associated environmental benefits that tend to be more socially acceptable. So as you can see on the slide, I've got benefits of sustainable versus conventional solutions. So simpler construction, lower construction costs, simpler operation with reduced operator intervention and expertise. They've no added chemicals that can end up in receiving waters, provide excellent landscape integration, and provide natural wildlife habitats amongst others. Now, various sustainable treatment technologies were researched for suitability, including but not limited to reed bed technologies, including aerated systems, integrated constructed wetlands, oxidation lagoons, SRC willows, microalgae-based technologies, reactive media filters. So the preference here was for well-established, proven technologies that were relatively new to the local water sector. Various suppliers were approached and their processes assessed for suitability at the identified sites. Now, site visits and consultations were also carried out with other UK water utilities with operational experience of sustainable technologies, including Scottish Water, Yorkshire Water, and Northumbrian Water. I'll now move on to talk about the 2 NI Water demonstration sites. So Blake is located in a relatively small town in County Fermanagh, west of Enniskillen. The original wastewater treatment works was built in 1982 and consisted of a compact activated sludge process with a number of upgrades carried out at the site, such as new inlet screening. With the current population of Blake now exceeding its design capability and is struggling to be compliant with the existing discharge standards, the works is well due a major upgrade and replacement, considering the civil structures and cast tanks are now past their design life. Other key issues at the works consisted of abnormally high flows arriving at the works due to network infiltration identified within the drainage area. So the replacement works, Aerofac, in this instance, has been designed to meet a 25-year design horizon of 2,700 PE and treat Formula A flow. Now, as part of the upgrade, we're also upgrading the pumps at the terminal pumping station, Carlton House, to ensure Formula A flow is passed forward to treatment. I'll now show you a 3D modeling representation of the Blake site and talk about the process itself. So the Aerofac process at Blake is the first of its kind in the island of Ireland, supplied by Gurney Environmental. Consists of a biological aerated facultative treatment process consistent of 2 lagoons with a total surface area of approximately 9,200 square meters. The screened sewage flows into the primary cell for biological treatment and takes place in 3 distinct zones: the upper aerobic processing zone, the specialized sludge water facultative bacteria zone, and the anaerobic sludge digestion zone, thus creating the necessary environments to ensure 100% treatment on site. The primary cell uses 2 baffle curtains for diffused aeration, complemented by the wind-powered electric aerators that operate continuously. The diffuse air blower system only operates when a biological load increases and is prompted by the dissolved oxygen monitors within the cells. Now, the same process takes place in the secondary cell, however, with less aeration required due to the load reduction post-primary cell. The cells are approximately 5 meters deep, and water is retained within the structure utilizing a geotextile liner, with concrete only required for the baffle curtain and other ancillaries, such as the blowers that feed the baffle curtain system. Once through the 2 Aerofac cells, the sewage has reached an effluent quality of 40/60, to the 4060 discharge standard and is fully disinfected following the 20 to 30 day retention time that this treatment process provides. Now, a concern that we had was algal growth within these cells, which following discussions with Erne revealed the technology that they use for this, an algae management system in the form of a titanium transducer called Titan, patented by Erne, and utilizes ultrasound that targets frequencies addressing a range of algal species, preventing their growth. So in summary, Aerofac process provides a low OPEX, low CapEx solution, provides extraordinary flow and load flexibility, being able to treat 10 times variations in flows, is an odorless solution, and removes the need for sludge management through the self-digesting sludge process. Now, Garrison is another relatively small town located in Fermanagh, west of Enniskillen, discharging into the shores of Loch Melvin. The original wastewater treatment works was also built in the 1980s and consisted of the same process, a compact activated sludge process, and recent work, or in 2005, it also had base maintenance work. With the current population of Garrison now also exceeding its design capability, as well as struggling to meet its compliance with the existing discharge standard, the works is well due to upgrade, being past its design life also. With the upgrade will also enable the development embargo to be lifted in this town. Now, the replacement Phragmifilter works has a design to meet a 25-year design horizon of 1200 PE and will also treat Formula A flow. Now, as part of this upgrade, we're also addressing a part of the catchment that over the years has seen untreated sewage discharging into Loch Melvin, and as such, we will be incorporating this into incorporating the Ravensbury catchment via a new gravity sewer to convey it into the new wastewater treatment works at Garrison. So the Phragmifilter process at Garrison consists of a two-stage aerated reed bed system supplied by Erne to provide full sewage treatment consisting of 4 primary stage reed beds and 1 final stage reed bed. This solution is being developed on land adjacent to the site, and we are currently negotiating with the local Gaelic football club to enable a connection of their 2 football pitches via a greenway pedestrian walkway around our site. As part of this solution, we're also maintaining the ecological status of a high-value meadow within the land area purchased by translocating it to parts of the land we are not developing. Moving on to the process, the screen sewage is pumped in controlled batches to the primary reed beds, operating in parallel for the treatment of the biological matter and suspended solids, which occurs by filtering through the two gravel layers, the upper fine grade and the lower larger grade, creating a fully drained unsaturated condition. Now, the upper layers trap solids, rags, and forms a sludge layer, and the lower layers is where the organic matter is consumed as a result of the biofilm developed on the larger gravel media. Now, the rotation of the beds allows for dewatering, drying, and composting, and also enables oxygen to refill the voids to aid BOD removal and nitrification. Now, the second stage reed beds are mainly used for polishing and completing the BOD removal and nitrification process. However, the second stage reed bed also included for force bed aeration technology to decrease the footprint of the final stage. Now, with this process being successfully trialled at Clabby, built in 2019, it proves to be another nature-based solution used to tackle the drivers of the West project. Now, if you remember in the videos there was green GRP kiosks both at Balake and Garrison. In recent weeks, we have explored new innovative solutions such as timber modular build kiosks, as opposed to traditional glass fiber reinforced kiosks. We are seeing these timber kiosks installed by Scottish Water, and the supplier RSC is now seeing over 32 sector-wide water installations, or installations to date, pardon me. RSC case studies are reporting over 70% reduction in embodied carbon with 25-year design lives and exceeding fire-resistant regulations compared to GRP kiosks. Now, with the sustainable nature-based solutions being implemented at Balake and Garrison, these timber kiosks would further benefit the solution and as well as provide a more sustainable aesthetic to these sites. Now, with the project officially launched in November 25, funding secured, planning approved, the two NI water sites are expected to break ground in Q1 of 26 and complete by November 27. The project team delivering the two sites involves Macadam Design, BSG, RPS, and key suppliers Erne and Erne. The overall West project, including the modelings, the strategies, and action plans, is also expected to complete by December 28. So thank you for your time, and when you get a chance, please feel free to visit the project website where you can learn more about the project, the modelling that we're doing, and get access to the 3D models developed for the NI water sites. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Another very insightful presentation this evening. Really, really good piece of work there. Very good to hear about this new technology. It's one of the benefits of these presentations and the seminars. You don't get this if you don't work in the industry anymore. So it's good to see that coming across. So a few questions in the Q&A for you. So the first one, I think, is for Barry. Will the pyrolysis plant be sized to process 100% of NI Water's wastewater sludge?
Well, it's still going through a range of options at the moment, but probably the most cost-effective will be to do 50% of the North's options. There is an initiative with Erne to look at the more regional northern option as well. So it's still very much in the air. For budgeting purposes, we're assuming it's pyrolysis for 50% of the population.
Okay, thank you. Another one, should local authorities make greater efforts to remove or reduce stormwater runoff to the treatment works as part of urban renewal town regeneration scheme? So I'm going to put that to both of you. So Barry, what's your opinion on that one?
Yes, unwanted water of any form is good to be removed at source. If it gets into our pipes, it's much harder to get rid of it, especially if it goes all the way through to the treatment works. It makes our overflows spill more frequently. So I'm a big fan of removal of stormwater at source. If we can find it and remove it, that is a win for everybody.
Ryan?
Yeah, I would sort of support Barry's insight on that. I'm currently working on other projects where we're working on storm separation schemes, primarily for that reason, just to alleviate the pressures at wastewater treatment works.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Another one for Barry. Barry, you're popular tonight. Given the shortage of skilled workforce across the industry, is availability of personnel to undertake the work the greatest risk to the deliverability of the programme of works, and what steps can be taken to reduce this?
Yeah, it's a really big problem that we have is the competition in the water industry at the moment. Not only do we have a really big program to do, but so do all the other water companies. Ere's capital program is even bigger than ours, and so are the UK, Scottish, Welsh water companies as well. So we want to have a sustainable, high level of big projects to keep all the contractors and consultants happy and full of work to do. But it's difficult. We need commitment to budget year in year so that we can ring fence the projects that we need to do, especially the big projects, and keep the talent in Northern Ireland.
It's just on that question, as a follow-up, Barry, is there any particular area you're aware of that there's a shortage?
Well, we seem to be able to get resources whenever we need them. I wish we could give a longer insight as to how long and what the size of our capital programs are likely to be. But at the moment, we have like year by year budgeting. And so it's very difficult for consultants and contractors to grow and be dependent upon us. And we wish we could give them more, but at the moment we literally have year-to-year funding that is pretty flat. I would love for the whole price control somehow to be signed off and then shared with the industry so that we could get efficiency and certainty of work for the brilliant supply chain that helps us to understand our problems and would love to do more if they had more certainty. I wish we could give them more certainty, and we would try our best, but that's what the price control does. If it could be signed off in one lump, be fantastic, but we're yet to see, I'm afraid.
And one for you, Ryan. Will the energy required to be by the hybrid constructed wetland be fully offset by renewables?
I assume they're referring to the Phragmifilter reed bed process, but generally the solar that we have at these sites is offsetting it. It's not fully taking up all the electricity required for the forced bed aeration, etc.
Okay. Another one for you, Ryan. Can an example be given for ways that Northern Ireland Water and Erne can have collaborated on the West projects?
Examples are sharing, for example, the technologies that we have. We have partner meetings that happen regularly, and we sort of try and have site visits to sort of share technologies that we're using. There's other sustainable or other innovations that Irish Water are trying, for example, powered vortex aeration for activated sludge processes that they're going to be trialing as part of their sites. So we're just knowledge sharing consistently through site visits and partner meetings.
Okay, brilliant. Have any more questions? I think that's us for this evening then, guys. Look, I'll just hand back over then to the guys to say thank you very much to our panelists this evening. Really, really appreciate your time and presentations today. We're very insightful. We've got a lot of stuff ahead, and be interesting to see how the funding actually does go ahead. But it is good to know that these projects like Peace Plus allow for NI Water to keep going with the investment that they need. So just on to a couple of additional slides. So Engineers Ireland, so John had to drop off there, so I'm just going to deliver this one. They've got a few upcoming events coming up in December, Digital Construction Technologies, and then Designing an Inclusive Society as well. And then in January, Harlem Wolf site visit and Engineers Ireland Northern Ireland Regional Dinner in March. On to the next slide for me. And then CIWEM events, we've got loads coming up, people. Please log on and get involved. Presidential debate, that's in London next month. Flood and Coast, that'll be in June. So if anybody has any papers for that, there's a call out at the minute. So if you can get those papers through, it's a fantastic event that's run, and it's good to get your papers in early. Then we've got a couple of other events from other branches in Scotland, and the southern branch as well. And then we've got our new members. We've got an event next week, which is not next week, sorry, 2 weeks away. The career of a chair and health and safety, and then on to our nature-based solutions as our joint event with ICE in January, and then the quiz. So please get yourselves ready for the quiz. Question knowledge quiz is always a great event, and supporting charity and stuff like that as well. So hope to see you all there. Look, thank you very much, everybody. If you've any other information you were looking for, CIWEM Learning Development and Policy, they're all available on our website. Please do log on. There's good skills and good resources there for to be used. I'll just say one final thank you to our panelists tonight. I think everybody enjoyed that, and it was a great presentation for everyone. So thank you, everybody, and I will see you all later.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.